New study finds that friends who often playfully insult each other are 300% more honest and loyal. Research shows that we should all absolutely relentlessly roast our friends. Contrary to popular belief, psychologists believe that friends who grill each other with frequent, good-natured jokes might have stronger friendships after all. Have I told you how much older you are than me lately? Fuck off.
That's cute. It explains this. It explains this.
Today, I am signing an executive order making it legal to call your friends fags and retards if they are doing something faggy or retarded. Fags and retards, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to start calling our friends this again. And we will. We're going to call them fags and retards again. Today.
It's healthier. It's healthier. It's true. It really is. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I'm your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. Those of you who joined me earlier today when we were live streaming, watching, commenting on the Karen Reed trial, I just want to tell you first and foremost, congratulations. You won the internet today. It's true. You did. Good job, you. If you did not win the internet today, fret not, because you can win the internet tomorrow and we'll be streaming it again. When I decided to stream this trial, it was really like I was like, I think I have to. I think I it's like almost like it's like I'm an idiot. I'm like lazy if I don't. So many people were asking me to stream the trial, Joe. Stream the Karen Reed, Joe. I was like, I don't know what the big deal is. What's the big deal about this case? I understand she's accused of murdering her boyfriend. That happens fairly commonly. Why is everyone so hung up on it? I gotta tell you something. It took me to the first cross-examination. Even the opening statements were pretty solid. Pretty solid opening statements. In that when the state was done, I was like, well, it sounds like they got a lot of evidence here. They got a lot of evidence. Sounds like they got a lot of evidence. Sounds like this is a lot here, which is difficult for Karen Reed to explain all of this away. And then you hear the defense's opening statement, and you're just like, holy hell. Okay, these are like two wildly different stories. And I had an idea coming into it. I had an idea what it is. I told you I wanted to come into this trial fresh, untainted. I know that there are millions of folks who watched round one of this little state versus Reed type of bout, and we're talking a lot about it. As I said, I never really got into it. It's almost like it's a soap opera that like I've been missing out on, and now I'm like, who shot JR? Oh my god! Is it really Linda's baby? Yeah. By the time we were halfway through Cross on the first freaking witness, I was like, okay, because the state comes out and they're like, okay, here's a woman who we have forensic evidence showing that she basically was steamrolling. She was drunk out of her mind. We have a video of her drunk, drinking 8 drinks in the span of a couple of hours. Then we know that she's sitting in the car and she seems to have gotten into a fight with her boyfriend on a snowy day here, goes tearing on out of there, hitting the gas, not a quarter of the way down, halfway, 3/4 of the way down, zooming backwards, and hits him. And then just goes, and then basically, for ponderous reasons, 3 hours later, starts calling everyone saying, I think he was hit by a snowplow, which is very sus. Like, who the hell says, oh, it's the middle of the night. I just think my boyfriend might have been hit by a snowplow. That might have happened, unless they actually had hit them. This stuff looks bad for Karen Reed. Not gonna kid you. Go driving all over the place with a whole bunch of friends trying to find her. Identifies the prone figure of John O'Keefe from a distance of blurriness that no one else can tell it's him. But she's like, oh my God, that's him in the road a mile and a half away. in the snow at night. It was, and then supposedly, purportedly, you know, the EMT shows up there. You would think EMT is different branch of governance from police. It's firefighter / paramedics. They show up and they say, oh yeah, we asked her if she knows the Vic, and she's like, I hit him. This sounds really bad. Then they start talking about they got DNA on they got fragments from her tail light all around the Vic, and the claw marks in his arm showing like that. It looked like he got dragged there or something. This looks and his DNA is on her car. Fragments from her tail light all around him. Yeah, I gotta tell you, I told my audience today, I said, look, I just heard the opening statement. I can hear an argument here for vehicular manslaughter. Woman's drunk out of her mind, just starts tearing on out of there. But you're telling me that she was trying to kill him. I don't hear anything in that opening statement that lends me to that conclusion. I mean, even if she got into an argument. Look, I don't know a lot about women, okay? I'll say it. Actually, I do, but I pretend I don't know a lot about women. So, one thing I do know, one thing experience has taught me with the female creature is this. If they are mad at you and they are behind the wheel of a car, when they take off, you are going to hear the screeching of tires. This does not mean that they are trying to kill you. They are trying to say, I am mad with the screeching of the tires. Same way, many of them way, not Lady Lawgic, obviously, who is awesome and amazing and beautiful in every way possibly imaginable, both inside and out. But the average typical female specimen, no offense, ladies, a lot of dudes are like this too. When they're mad, they're gonna let you know it. They'll slam the door. They're gonna do their thing. So you're telling me that, like, oh, look at this. You know how we know she was she's in a snowy day and she's hitting the gas, going backwards or reverse. I'm like, dude. Don't tell me she's mad at him, and then she's pressing on the gas. I'm supposed to think that she's trying to kill him. No. Trust me, a lot of dead dudes would be that way if that was the case. No. That's just an angry woman. I'm not even sure if someone's got 8 drinks in 2 hours that they're able to form the mens rea that is necessary for them to have this whole premeditated. I'm gonna go kill you. I don't even know if that's even possible. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. That's kind of like a borderline call. I could see a reasonable jury perhaps come to the conclusion that you could still form the mens rea. You tell me she's mad, she's hitting the gas. I'll tell you right now, she's making a point. And that point is not your life is going to be flashing before your eyes. It may be, I want you to think your life is going to flash before your eyes. That is very possible, but not that they actually want your life to flash before your eyes. There's a difference. And to me, even if a woman is saying to herself, I want this guy to feel my wrath one way or another, that doesn't mean that they're trying to hit them with the car. So out of the gate, before any words were spoken by defense counsel, I was like, all right. You know, they got all these different people coming to testify. My audience, I know, going nuts. They're just like, liar, you're a stinking liar. Your pants are on fire. Your nose is growing. They're screaming. They're all up in arms. This is crazy. No. This guy's a big fat stinking liar. They're all in cahoots. This is terrible. I see the chat going on there. I see it. I see what's going on. I'm not blind to it. I'm trying to get fresh eyes. Let me get my fresh eyes. Let me hear them out. Hear the other side. Start forming my own opinions. I know if many of you feel very passionately. I get it. I love the passion. Just know, I'm not sitting here like, oh, I don't see the chat. What's that? Is there a chat going? No. What happens is I'm trying to maintain that objectivity. This way, when I reach a conclusion, I feel as if it hasn't been sort of like, shoved on me by a screaming audience of mine, which sometimes you guys can scream pretty loudly. So yeah. So I saw I saw that. I'm like, all right, I know. And defense counsel gets up there, opening statement. First words out of his mouth is like, okay, know this. There was no collision ever. No car collision ever. That's all hot garbage. Never a collision. He didn't even die outdoors. This guy got beaten inside the house. Yeah, that's right. Inside the police officer's house. You're going to hear the name Michael Proctor a lot during this trial. Know this. He's an idiot. And he botched this investigation because he was looking out for his cop buddy friends. And he died. This is a cop who died in a house by the hands of other cops. You're going to see about a vicious dog who, quote unquote, don't like strangers. You're going to see an officer, Brian Albert here, who is a first responder. And when there's all these different cops and people screaming right outside his house, and one of his own has fallen on his own freaking front yard, doesn't walk outside, which is weird. I understand it's 6 o'clock in the morning. That is a little weird. You're gonna think to yourself, oh my God, like how is it that this Officer Proctor, who, should I mention to you, the guy did such a bad job on this case that his own department fired him because of his mishandling of this case. And there's so much mishandling and texting saying, don't worry, these cops are not going to get in any sort of trouble here. People having concerns about that. Did I mention that at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, his sister-in-law is Googling how long does it take for a body to freeze to death? And you're just like, what? What is happening here? I'm not kidding. I thought I'm watching like a live reenactment of Murder on the Orient Express. I'm thinking Karen Reed killed him. I'm thinking that Jen McCabe killed him. I'm thinking Brian Albert killed him. I'm thinking Michael Proctor. I'm thinking each of them got their own little stabby stabs, and they're just like, and this is for baby Daisy. Boom. No, yeah, you burn in hell, you scum. Like like lining up, just stabbing. We're all like, who shot JR? Who killed John O'Keefe? There's so many freaking suspects. I'm hearing about some Officer Brian Higgins who had some sort of thing for Karen Reed. And he's sitting there in the bar just sort of brooding because she had just rejected him a few days earlier. I'm not kidding. This is what really they said. Like, this is like an actual soap opera. You can picture the spurned over there just sort of eyeing from across the bar, and she's like sort of trying to like not make eye contact, and maybe like once goes over and she's like, you got to leave me alone. He's like, he'll never have you. I don't know what's happening. It's crazy. I didn't even get to the testimony yet. Okay, straight out of the gate. First witness, number uno. First witness out of the gate. Very first one. First witness is a firefighter / paramedic, the one who found him. Well, not found him, but the first one to like one of the first handful of people on the scene when this guy's freezing to death. And when he first sees him, thinks he looks kind of dead. I'm not dead. You'll be, knock it off. I think I'll go for a walk. You'll be stone dead in a minute. So he's one of the first responders trying to save John O'Keefe's life there. And he's like, yes, I asked her, I got to see this woman there with blood on her face. She's screaming. She's going nuts. I said, do you know this guy? She's like, I hit him. Which, that's a weird response to that question. I didn't ask if you hit him. Just asked if you know him. You seem really upset. And yeah. And that's what he's saying. And then on cross-examination, she hit Alan Jackson, counsel for defense, who so far seems highly competent, was saying, yeah, the last trial you said the I hit him came twice. Now it's 3 times. What happened? This guy said, oh yeah, back then I didn't remember. Now I really remember it clearly. Wait. So 2 years after the fact, you don't really remember, but 3 years after, now you remember. Oh, okay. So your memory has gotten better over time. Because this is classic trial advocacy they teach us in law school. That every Every idiot understands that your memory tends to fade over time, not get better. But somehow his got better. And the hilarious thing is, during the course of his own testimony, his memory seemed to be getting even better, because all of a sudden he remembered more times that she said that, oh, when I was busy, I hear her screaming in the background. I hit him. She's screaming and more. She's like running around all over the yard. I hit him. I don't know what's happening here. It sounded like this guy went from seeming rather credible, which I actually referred to him as being rather credible in the opening part of his testimony, to, are you out of your mind? This never happened. This did not happen. Come on. What are you talking about? This didn't happen. And I have lots of other questions. I mean, more stuff that the defense counsel raised in his opening statement, like he's like, this Michael Proctor dude, he seized her vehicle and only logged a few hours later that he had seized it. And the interim, next thing you know, they happened to be finding all these shards of her taillight that just magically appeared around the body. They searched around that body twice, didn't find a single shard, not one single shard. But all of a sudden now, he gets a hold of the car 10 minutes later. Oh, look at this, 47 shards all around the body. Whoa, I wonder how this happened. You start thinking to yourself, what the hell is going on here? What the hell's going on in Canton, Massachusetts? I mean, they're all talking like they're Cliff Clavin, which is both annoying and hilarious. But then you're like, what? Even the fire department isn't on it? I understand, the typical wall of blue, but the fire department, like everyone. And then when he's like, they start getting into an argument. Defense counsel on cross gets into an argument with this guy Nunnall about what the video they just watched 3 minutes ago shows. He's like, let's pull it up again. Judge is like, no. What? Why not? You just said that you said something and that you were in a certain position. I said that's not what the video showed. You're saying, I'm telling you what the video showed. You're saying that's not what the video shows. I'll show it to you here on the video. No more looking at the video. You're just like, Judge Cannoni, what the heck is going on here? Really? I feel as if I'm expecting the next witness to be Jack Nicholson from The Departed. I don't know what's going to come next. I don't know what's coming next, but you will find it right here on this channel, Good Lawgic, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I urge you to join me. Because this is good drama. It's good drama. We have a good time. Anyway, I urge you to join me. You can join me on Rumble. You can join me on YouTube. I guess a couple of you ex-denizens can join me there. I urge you to check it out. It's a fun time. And we got 6-7 weeks of this. Oh my God, it's going to be so glorious. Anyway, want to get that all off my chest. Now you're all caught up. I mean, the only other thing you need to know walking into tomorrow is, so they finished the direct cross, redirect, recross, redirect, recross with the first witness who got so thrashed. I'm like, this is your best witness? This is the guy you lead with? This is the one? I'm like, you got a long way to go, prosecution. This looks like a tough road to hoe for you. We also heard from one of the friends who Karen Reed called and came looking around, and she's almost through her direct. Seems as if she was done with her direct, but then they let the day end. So it's from 9 to 4 every day. You can even pop in and out. Good times to be had. Starting tomorrow. Again, day 2, 9 a.m. Links in goodlogic.locals.com. I got a bunch of stuff I want to cover with you today. I want to apologize also about one thing. I should apologize. Let me just get this mea culpa off my chest. Last night, I invited my dad, who is popularly referred to as Great Lawgic, to join me. He's got a doctorate in medieval Christian-Muslim relations, and I said, I'm going to spend the night just sort of talking about the passing of Pope Francis. And he knows a lot about popes historically, and he was going to be sharing all these different amazing stories about like popes through the ages, some popes who were regarded as being really awesome people, others who were assassinated, like some crazy stories. And I thought it'd be a nice way to marked the passing of Pope Francis, who I understand was a very controversial figure. And I think he was controversial because he got very involved in politics and seemed to be far further left than you would expect the head of the church, a religious institution, to ever embrace. And that's what I was planning on. I was planning on talking a little bit about that. I wasn't going to be bashing Pope Francis. I was going to just sort of weigh in about this, the interesting, elements to the controversial figure that he was. Look, historically, it's not the first time that popes have ventured into politics. Quite the contrary. You go back to the Middle Ages, and they're front and center dealing with politics. But to be so overt about it in this century is a little bit. Pope John Paul wasn't quite so political. And who was in between? There was one between them. Anyway, anyhow, so I was coming back from Virginia Beach yesterday. When I came back here and set up my studio, my audio and video, neither of which were working. It was a disaster. And I want to give credit to my good friend Joe, who I sometimes refer to as Audio Joe, who's actually got a background in this sort of stuff, who spent hours helping me sort out so that you can see all this. All this might not have been yours, but for his assistance. And it was a disaster. The audio, I mean, even he was like stumped for a bit. He's like, I've never seen this before. It was so bad. It was so bad. But thank God, everything's been working well now. And I sort of feel as if I can't go back in time and just start talking about Pope Francis now, or popes in general. Like time marches forward, and a lot's been happening in the news. So let's get on in on that. And yeah, we'll just leave it at that. So, yes, my brother Joe, my other brother Joe, we have audio. That's true. We do. Steve Gosney in the chat. I want you to know, I was thinking about inviting Steve Gosney on yesterday also. I didn't end up doing that, but I was thinking about inviting him on. I was like, I'm going to have my dad in here, and we talk about popes. So I was like, Gosney.
Was it the Epstein list, Cash and Dan?
What the heck is happening?
And we will put this out. He basically said,
I do hear audio.
Give us time. It's like, it's been 3 months. We just got here. We've got to, there's so much paperwork. There's so much you got to do to get these things to happen. But he very much said, rest assured, we are doing what you're hoping.
All right, I got that. I'm sorry. I nipped that in the bud. Not sure how that happened. Some random thing just popped up on me. So this is Audio Joe. In case you don't know, he changes his name a lot today. He's person in chat number 6. So he was the one who helped me out, and God bless you, brother. All right. Where was we? All right, let's start off talking about let's talk about let's get Hegseth out of the way. And I was like, I don't have time to read through all this. I'm asking Grok what the hell happened, and I'm just going to share with you what Grok gave me and the different takes that we're getting on this story and how this thing seems to be unfolding. So we're going to give you a take from the left. We'll give it from the right. We'll talk, and I'll give you some of my own thoughts about this, which is probably not as far right as some of you might expect, but we'll see. So I asked Grok, tell me about Signalgate, second Signalgate, which I know Signalgate is a stupid name because this is not really a scandal that they're making out to be. But the second Signalgate reported in April 2025 centered on Hegseth's creation of a separate Signal group chat that included, purportedly, this is what you should have said, purportedly included inappropriate participants, further escalating concerns about his handling of sensitive information. Unlike the first chat, which Waltz created and involves senior officials, Hegseth purportedly personally initiated this second group chat, included his wife, a former Fox News producer, his brother, his lawyer, and others who lacked a clear need to know for sensitive military information. The chat allegedly discussed similar sensitive details about U.S. military operations, including plans for airstrikes in Yemen, mirroring the content of the first scandal. That sounds very convenient. That it's the same, more airstrikes in Yemen? Really? Really? The existence of the second chat was reported by investigative journalists with the New York Times, citing anonymous sources. Right there. Whoa, 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 whoa. Anonymous sources. I know how anonymous sources tend to work when they're around the Trump administration. All of a sudden, if you're the right news outlet and you got enough time hanging around anonymous people, you start finding yourself some anonymous sources who say some pretty wacky type of things. And seeing as how I know historically that I can literally be watching the same speech as someone from the left, and they'll be hearing one thing and I'll be hearing something completely different. That if I hear an anonymous source telling me that Trump said something, Trump did something, or someone in his circle said or did something, I'm like, hold up. hold up. Because I'm not sure I can trust that. I'm not sure I can trust that because I know how you and I will look at the exact same 30-second clip and you'll be hearing something totally different from anything that ever would have floated through my brain. So when you're telling me that you heard something to do something, I'm like, yeah, I don't know if that's accurate. Very likely you heard something that your little deranged mind is twisting it one way or another. So I don't know that I can trust that. So especially if you can't give me a name on it, anonymous sources, anonymous sources who said the losers statement. It's like, just stop it. We all know that's crap. The inclusion of family members and non-government personnel raised alarms of potential security breaches and misuse of classified information. The scandal gained traction after the Atlantic's initial report in the first chat, prompting further scrutiny of his communication practices. Hegseth dismissed the allegations as politically motivated smear campaign, blaming disgruntled former employees and the media. Insisted no classified info was shared in the chat, and that would change everything, obviously. And I tell you this, if you think that it happens to be a second chat about airstrikes in Yemen, it's like, it sounds so ridiculously unoriginal that it made me think, question this whole story right there, especially when it's rooted in anonymous sources. The Department of Defense, through spokesperson Sean Parnell, downplayed the issue, framing it as a media-driven narrative rather than security concern. Parnell suggested the story stemmed from recently laid off staffers. Hegseth took to X, deflecting criticism by focusing on unrelated policy issues, the immigration and diversity initiatives, claiming that detractors were pushing illegals, trans, and DEI agenda. Democrats like Senator Tammy Duckworth call Hegseth's actions reckless, stating, every day he stays in his job is another day our troops' lives are endangered by his singular stupidity. Really? How do you know he did any of these things? I don't, but I'm just going to say it, and people are going to listen to me because I suffered a terrible injury while fighting for our country. While some Republicans, like Senators Lisa Murkowski and Roger Wicker, had called for investigations into the first scandal, there was less unified GOP criticism of the second. Let me tell you something. If Lisa Murkowski is not screaming, if she's not screaming, that tells me this is a nothing burger. Because she doesn't hesitate to scream. So if she's not screaming, we saw how she screamed the first time. That tells me that this second story is a nothing burger. Then I asked about, I'm not going to get into this other part, which I thought was boring. So I don't like boring you, but I asked about whether there were any firings. Where's that question? Oh, yeah. Was anybody fired as a result? So they said, yes, there were firings and suspensions linked to the fallout from the second signal gate, because I thought there were. So there's 4 people that Grok identifies as Darren Selnick, Pentagon's deputy chief of staff, suspended April 15th. It's part of investigation. Dan Caldwell, April 15th. Colin Carroll, April 15th. And Hegseth chief of staff was reassigned, though not explicitly fired during the turmoil following the second scandal. So it seems as if all of this happened when did second signal gate purportedly occur? Exactly. So that all happened April 20th. So it could be completely full of crap from these people who were fired April 15th. And he likely had a signal chat with those folks, like his wife and his brother, but it likely didn't contain any sensitive information. This has not stopped the left from chirping like idiots, specifically this idiot right here. No, let's face it, these two idiots. It's really hard to know which of these two are bigger idiots. I should get to some of the super chats, which were lingering out here. Trumpinator gifting one. Good Lord. I've been for 30 minutes. I didn't even look at this yet. 1, 2, 3. 3 different Good Logic memberships. 3 new members of the following. There's no way in hell I got them. That didn't happen. That did not happen. But those of you who were brought into the following courtesy of Trumpinator, God bless you. I'm going to give you one of these. Oh, that sounds loud. I'm going to give you one of those and say those who were brought into the following courtesy of Trumpinator. It would be most appropriate if you express your gratitude to Trumpinator for giving you the gift of life. And he did it before the show. We didn't even have the show might not even happen. It was faith in me that Trumpinator was showing. And I say to you, thank you, my brother. Thank you. Thank you. It was faith that we were going to go forward. And we did. So we're a good team. Great work. Great work. So welcome to the following. Those who were brought in, God bless you. Please be reminded that the following, while it has a sort of culty type of name, is not at all a cult type of cult. Deborah Mueller, just gifting the 10. Gifting the 10. I say to you, grazie. Grazie. Jip V said, and I mean that sincerely. Thank you. Jip V says, we missed out on the motions for the ARCA discovery order earlier. Law and Crime and CTV both cut it out. NBC Boston 10 aired it less than 30 minutes. I don't know if I'm going to get to that. God barely knows. This is when I was saying I don't know much about God barely knows about women. Yeah. There's no way a drunk woman intentionally aimed the car at a man driving backwards and hit him. That's crazy. That's funny. Thank you, brother. Thank you much. Let me take a quick check here. I have Peaksy over in Rumble because I haven't been looking there at all. Make sure I didn't miss something. Are we good? Are we good? We're good. Okay. We're good. I'm all good on Rumble. Should I check locals just in case? Every once in a while, there's something at locals. Every once in a while. I want to make sure I'm 100% good here. Oh, no. Joe Sound Guy's all alone. Okay. Where was we? So John Bolton on CNN, because that's where all neocons end up eventually.
With us now to talk more about this is John Bolton. He served as National Security Advisor during President Trump's first term. How bad do you think this is, I wonder, having his wife, his brother, his lawyer included on what sources describe as military plans of these Houthi strikes?
That's the part where you lost me. When you tell me it's military strikes or Houthis, it's because we have to make it sound really serious. Yeah, I have a hard time buying that at all.
Similar to what came to light during that first Signal chat scandal.
Well, I think after people got over the disbelief at the first Signal chat group, it's no surprise there are others. What makes this one worse and different is that it's kind of a friends and family Signal chat group, none of whom have any need to know what's been conveyed about
None of them had anything conveyed. What's your evidence that anything was conveyed? Oh, anonymous sources.
Potential strikes in Yemen before they actually happen. I mean, it speaks to a lack of judgment on Hegseth's part. And when you look at the controversy over the people recently being fired, by the way, all of whom are people he hired within the past 90 days, it really gives the picture of a Secretary of Defense who's a lightweight, a dilettante. And
you're a freaking lightweight. You're just a lunatic who says bomb everybody. That's not strategic. You're just into bombing folks. And you're almost certainly paid by the military-industrial complex.
That's not the kind of person you want as a Secretary of Defense under any circumstances, but particularly not in the challenging environment we find ourselves in today.
The challenging environment we find ourselves in today, courtesy of the Biden administration, you mean to say, and all of their countless blunders.
Let's talk about some of those top aides who are gone. I think some of whom, were it not for Hegseth or someone like Hegseth being in the position he's in, would not have had the positions they had at the Pentagon.
They were fired 5 days earlier. They're fired 5 days earlier. So these are likely your anonymous sources, in which case, and maybe that's why they are anonymous sources, because everyone would be like, oh, yeah, if we get a source from a disgruntled former employee, people are going to think that this sounds stupid. If instead of saying anonymous sources, this is my point. If instead of saying anonymous sources, it would have said, oh, yeah, Darren Selnick and Dan Caldwell tell us that there was this Signal Gate chat about Houthis, we'd be like, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. But instead, it's because they know how stupid that sounds. They say, anonymous sources tell us, and we're very trustworthy. By the way, have you made sure you boosted your 6-month-old?
But Senior Advisor Dan Caldwell, Deputy Chief of Staff Darren Selnick, Chief of Staff to the Deputy Secretary of Defense Colin Carroll. What's the effect?
There are your anonymous sources right there.
Effective departures at a high level like that.
Well, as I say, I think he was responsible for hiring.
See, CNN has abandoned any facade of covering news, because when you bring in someone who is clearly just has a history of histrionics about the Trump administration to try and weigh in and tell you his thoughts. He's not weighing in and telling you his thoughts. He's displayed TDS more often than Rachel Maddow. So, like, what is the point? What are you gaining out of this other than here's an angry old badgered man who's basically kind of like Joe Biden's slightly younger brother, who's going to come in here and start telling you about how terrible Trump is? You don't care about the news. You don't care about anything. You don't care about informing your viewers. All you care about is finding some jackass who's willing to yell about Trump. That's all this is. You expose yourself that you're just a shill. I always forget this woman's name because it's a very forgettable name. One of you, I'm sure, is telling me in chat what it is. Probably a handful of you are yelling me, how did you forget her name? But yeah. Yeah, it's to me, this is just popcorn TV. It's a made for TV drama. That's what CNN is. It's not even the clown news network. It's closed news. It's not even news. I don't know what the hell this is. This is not news. Here's an angry old man yelling about Trump.
All of them. I mean, I think he had connections with him. He also lost his own chief of staff, who is either being fired or moved somewhere else in the Defense Department. I think what it says to the rest of that very big building and its partners around the world that they're just not serious in the Secretary of Defense's office. They don't have their act together managing a very small group of people. How's somebody like that ever going to lead the entire Pentagon? It's what you get when.
How you ever had any sort of job advising the president? That's a much bigger stain on Trump's legacy than anything else. I can't listen to any more of that clown. I can't. There's another two minutes of it, and I value your sanity. So let's hear from Pistol Pete on this.
Why would it surprise anybody, Brian, if those very same people keep leaking to the very same reporters whatever information they think they can have to try to sabotage the agenda of the president or the secretary? So once a leaker, always a leaker.
That's what my mama always said. That's what my mama always said. Once a leaker, always a leaker. It's true. It's true. These are facts. These are facts. Once a leaker, always a leaker.
Often a leaker. And so we look.
And often. Always. And often and always.
For leakers because we take it very seriously. And we will do the investigation. Right. And if those people are exonerated, fantastic. We don't think, based on what we understand, that it's going to be a good day for a number of those individuals because of what was found in the investigation. So if they want to keep leaking and pushing and peddling things that try to sabotage the president's agenda, that's unfortunate. But that's how leaking works in this town. We're focused on recruiting, on rooting out DEI, on securing our southwest border, on the president's agenda, and it's going very well at the Pentagon, and I'm proud. Why would it surprise?
We got more from him. I'll come back to him in a moment. This was Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt answering a question on this topic.
I really appreciate it. I have two questions, one on the Pentagon and another on the economy. You said on Fox News that the entire Pentagon is working against Secretary Hegseth, but the people who were fired were Hegseth's own guys. So how do you square that, and what do you say to concerns that that's bad management?
They were Pentagon employees who leaked against their boss to news agencies in this room, and it's been clear since day one from this administration that we are not going to tolerate individuals who leak to the mainstream media, particularly when it comes to sensitive information. And the Secretary of Defense is doing a tremendous job, and he is bringing monumental change to the Pentagon. And there's a lot of people in this city who reject monumental change. And I think, frankly, that's why we've seen a smear campaign against the Secretary of Defense since the moment that President Trump announced his nomination before the United States Senate. Let me reiterate, the president stands strongly behind Secretary Hegseth in the change that he is bringing to the Pentagon, and the results that he's achieved thus far speak for themselves.
Is there an FBI investigation into?
So there you go. There you go. Support for Pete Hegseth remains unchallenged because he says stuff like this right here. Because he's not just says, but accomplished stuff like this.
They've come after me from day one, just like they've come after President Trump. I mean, I've gotten a fraction of what President Trump got in that first term. What he's endured is superhuman. It's not hard for me to do this job. I know exactly why I'm here. To bring warfighting and the warfighting ethos back to the Pentagon, to rip out the insidious ideologies and not compromise and not back down, to bring in new press voices into the Pentagon, which we've done.
Bring in new press voices like Tim Pool. That's true. He did ask a question today.
To reestablish standards and accountability, to not tolerate leakers, to 100% operational control of our border, to get rid of trans lunacy in the military. We haven't backed down. See, here's the thing. A lot of people come to Washington and they just play the game. And it's you punch their ticket and get along to go along and, start doing Meet the Press and going to the Council on Foreign Relations and spending time with all the new cocktail sipping crowd. That's not why I'm here. I'm here because President Trump asked me to bring warfighting back to the Pentagon every single day. Right. That is our focus. And if people don't like it, they can come after me. No worries. I'm standing right here. The warfighters are behind us. Our enemies know they're on notice. Our allies know we're behind them. And that, in this dangerous world, for the American people, is what it's all about.
So there you go. There you go. Not backing down, Pistol Pete Hegseth. And I want to show you, I want to bring an article here from Town Hall by Kurt Schlichter, which I think sums this up very well as where the Trump administration feels about Pete Hegseth, in case you have concerns about him being let go anytime soon. As Kurt Schlichter writes, let's get right to the heart of Pete Hegseth's fake controversy. This isn't about some signal chat. It's not about some bullshit newfound interest in sensitive materials handling that didn't manifest until it became useful as a political weapon. This is about one thing, taking down President Donald J. Trump. This is about wounding him, belittling him, humiliating him by taking the scalp of a marquee guy he appointed and neutering him so he can't reform the Pentagon. Hell no. They can only pull it off if Trump lets them. Their only power is the ability to whine, complain, and cry. And they're proficient at that. But Donald Trump is not going to play that, and more importantly, we, the base, are not going to play it either. Pete Hegseth can be the hill the Democrats can die on right after they finish having margaritas with that wife-beating MS-13 scumbag. If you were reading the New York Times this weekend instead of getting right with Jesus, you probably saw the stupid Signalgate nonsense have been resurrected as well. See? Kurt Schlichter writes well. They tried it once, and now they're trying it again. It was lame the first time. It is to scandals as David French is to raw smoldering sensuality. As in, it's not a scandal. It's a joke, a fraud, a scam, and a lie like everything else they push. This imbroglio is not about rules. Imbroglio, meaning this chaotic mess. It's not a chaotic, messy situation. It's not about rules or regulations or military security. These guys don't care about classified materials. If they did, Hillary Clinton would be in Leavenworth, finally finding someone who loves her. Oh, pulling no punches. This is about politics, and we need to respond politically. Our political response needs to be an extended middle finger. Read between the lines. Their onanistic festival of phony outrage is a weapon. Onanistic is a term for self-pleasurement. A phony outrage is a weapon designed to take out Secretary of Defense SecDef Pete Hegseth. But of course, Hegseth is not the target. As always, the guy in the crosshairs is President Donald J. Trump. Why? Desperation. They need this win. Trump has been winning and winning and winning, plus more winning since he got inaugurated. And the Democrats, the regime media, and the Fredocons haven't been able to lay a soft, girlish finger on him. They can only win if Donald Trump bends to their will. Of course, even if the president was inclined to be a sissy, it would just embolden and empower them, and Trump would spend the rest of the next nearly 4 years bent over. But President Trump doesn't bend for anybody, and neither do we, his supporters. Pete Hegseth is a high-value target because he's a twofer. Nuking him not only hurts Trump, but they get rid of the guy who's messing with their grift. Pete Hegseth is a man and a soldier. Two things Democrats, regime media, and soft Republicans hate, loathe, and fear, in this retired colonel's opinion. He's already done the most important thing that the new SecDef could do, reestablish military culture. Sometimes you need, and this is true, and like everyone knows this in sports, you need to have a winning culture in your team if you're going to be successful. Culture is so significant. Sometimes you need a number cruncher like Donald Rumsfeld. Other times you need an ass kicker like Pete Hegseth. He's hewn the deadwood, fired the half-steppers, and gone out there and said that we will be a military organization once again. The troops got the message when he does PT with Mongo the Camouflage Sasquatch. What? I didn't see this. Damn, Pete. I guess that's Sasquatch. What the hell is that? Oh my God. That guy is big. This is a guy who wants the military to be what the troops signed up for. Real warriors want to be part of this organization. Enlistments are up massively, and the word is out. This is going to be a war-fighting organization that's dedicated to killing our enemies instead of talking about privilege, systemic racism, and how some men can get pregnant. He's replacing DEI with DIE, and it's the bad guys who are doing the dying. Being a retired colonel on Twitter, and therefore harmless service members talk to me. They're finally in a military organization again, and they dig it. They love Pete Hegseth, and getting rid of Pete Hegseth would be a betrayal of the people who put their lives on the line for our country, and would also be a betrayal of the people who support the president. To his credit, Hegseth has made some powerful enemies. To his credit, he's made some powerful enemies. That's a compliment. He's upset a lot of apple carts and kicked over a lot of rice bowls. There are many people who are used to doing business the old way, getting rich while the military gets weaker, and they don't like him, nor do they like President Trump's agenda of not getting into useless wars and closing down some of the stupid ones. Trump is pulling us out of Syria. The last time he tried, the generals outright lied to him, but that will not play now that Hegseth is on board. That makes Hegseth dangerous. He's not beholden to anyone but Trump and us. If they can pressure Trump into firing Hegseth, we'll get some Raytheon executive who did a tour as a quartermaster lieutenant back in 1979, who they can use as a puppet to keep the grift rolling. Nope, Trump's not doing that. Another reason they hate Hegseth is alleged to be a part of the faction of Trump's cabinet that opposes striking Iran. Now, if I was chief of staff to Pete Hegseth, and I'm never going to work for anybody again, I would advise him to advise the commander-in-chief to blow the living snot out of those 7th century semi-humans. Take out the nuclear program, take out their Islamic Gestapo, and send the mullahs to meet their 72 versions with their tiny manhoods in their hands. But I'm not making policy, and Pete Hegseth is not making policy. President Trump is making policy, and he's going to make that decision based on the best advice of the people around him, advice that I might not agree with. But the last thing Trump needs is some establishment Pentagon cheerleader whispering in his ear, trying to keep its 30-year unbroken track record of total failure alive. Is everything going perfectly in the Pentagon? No. It's not, because it's a human endeavor, and things never always go perfectly. Are there some personnel upsets? Did some people get asked to leave for reasons that we don't really understand? Yep. And I've heard that some of those are good guys. Regardless, Hegseth is the boss, and Pete decides to go in different directions. So that's how it goes. I don't care anything about Pentagon infighting. I just want Hegseth to break the will of the people standing in his way, send home the folks who won't get on the train, and get this organization moving again. That's what Trump hired him to do. That's what he's doing. Democrats and their minions in the regime media and deep state are deploying their nonsense to pull an okie doke on our president and get him to screw himself over by firing Pete Hegseth. But while the media is whining, it's an illusion. Most normal people neither know nor care about Pentagon drama, and his base backs Hegseth 100%. Trump's not going to fold. He's not going to embarrass himself by rolling over. President Trump does not care what Democrats, the regime media, or the Republican tofu spine caucus think. Pete Hegseth, besides being a great secdef, will be a monument to Trump's power and his enemy's pathetic weakness. Now, I'm going to say this. There's a great article there by Kurt Schlichter, and I agree 100%. Should not at all roll over. Shouldn't. No. This is, I've said many times, you can't apologize to the masses who were offended. All you're doing is asking them to lop your head off. Whenever there's a group who's been offended, if you apologize to them, you're an idiot. If you can apologize to an individual who you wrong, then that's healthy, that's mature. There's no such thing as apologizing to a group. If you do it, you're an idiot, and they will just lop off your head and punish you for it, because you're admitting that you were wrong, and you never satisfied the people who were really hurt, because how can you? They're amorphous. It's like trying to catch oxygen in your hand. It doesn't work. So, if you offend the blacks, the Jews, the Muslims, whoever, and you try apologizing, you're an idiot. Never do that. And I similarly agree that trying to assuage the left, they're equally amorphous and just stupid. So, yeah, don't cater at all. 100% agree with him on that. I do want to say this, though. Karen Leavitt was a little bit deft in avoiding the question there, which is, he did promote these guys. They didn't have these jobs 90 days ago. They did get them over the last 90 days, and they were released. There is a bit of an embarrassment in the fact that you have 4 different top-level people who you put in these top positions who, for one reason or another, are leakers. So you really need to sort of weed out some of these bad folk, and some of the people who were brought in clearly were poor choices. Does that mean that you expose your neck to your enemies, and I mean political enemies in the left? No, you don't. But it's not a mark of, it doesn't inspire confidence that they had to let go of 4 people in the first 100 days. But it is a reminder of something else, though. One of the things that people critiqued Trump about was that he hired Trump guys, Trump loyalists. And they try to critique him as if this is some sort of weakness. It's not a weakness. In Donald Trump's orbit, it's a necessity. Trump loyalists are a necessity because there is such a large market for people to defect from the Trump orbit that they'll hail you as being some sort of messianic figure if you do the Mike Pence type of thing, if you do the Liz Cheney thing and you cross over and start bashing Trump. So he needs loyalists. It's as necessary qualification as any other element because there is so much temptation that the left will throw at you to turn on him. So what they look at as being like a sign of, a failing, and they were whining and crying about as far as like, oh, he got another Trumper in there. He has to get Trumpers in there because you jackasses are basically going to try and find anyone who's not loyal to him to try and stir up drama for the sake of stirring up drama because you have no genuine political strength. So you feel like this is a way we can stir up drama and try and rebut his ability to get anything accomplished or as accomplished as it otherwise would be. And accordingly, being a loyalist is a necessary element for anyone who has any sort of position of authority in the Trump administration. And that was a wise move. You get into Kash Patel, you get into Pete Hegseth. You have to have loyalists in there because there's just too much temptation for them to cross over. So, yeah. I just wanted to share that thought. But to say that this is not at all an embarrassment, you have to fire 4 people in the first 9 days, they clearly weren't sufficient loyalists. I hope they're replaced by people who are, just so we don't have to have this drama all over again with some other schmuck. That's all I got to say about that. Let me catch up on some of these chats. Hey, Joe, will you be reviewing the decision SCOTUS had with the recent case about children and Pride Puppy book and parental rights? Maybe tomorrow. Possibly. We'll see. Tomorrow, Jip is asking me, because Jip asked me earlier that to go over the Ark of Discovery. Maybe. But my schedule is very busy now. I'm streaming for like 7 hours during the day and 2 hours a night, and I have to prep for the show. I'm working 12-hour days already. So, like, squeezing in extra stuff is not really something that I'm going to be I'm avoiding committing to. And it'll sort of depend on my mood and what else is going on. But there's just a lot of time I'm sitting here on camera. Did you notice in AJ's opening, he made clear that JOK was in the house, meaning she couldn't have hit him. They fought, she went home, he went in. JOK. I'm so not up on this case to know acronyms here, Sean. JOK. Was aided up in JOK. Oh, O'Keefe was in the house, meaning she couldn't have hit him. Oh, that's what you mean, John O'Keefe. He came out right away, and he's like, "Yeah, this collision never happened." This is if they, that one of the things that they talked about, and Sean was watching with me earlier today. One of the things that they were talking about was the heat of the phone. And they're trying to say that the phone was steadily losing heat, meaning he was not indoors. That's part of what the state is trying to say, that it's trying to stave off the defense's position that he was first attacked inside the house and then left for dead outside the house. Because they're like, why would his phone keep losing heat unless he was outdoors? I think you need to know a lot about what the temperatures were and try and get some sort of idea as to the normal rate for it to cool. I saw some people speculating that your phone would get hotter if it was charging. So if it was charging like in the car and then started and then he left the car, even if he went to a house, it would be cooling. So much I don't know about this. I mean, so much I'm learning about this. I'm really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying this trial. It's really fun. I urge you. In my opening, I talked a lot about what we learned today in the Karen Reed trial. It's a fun case. If you joined late, just check out my explanation as to what went down today in the opening portion of the show here. The harder they go to Hegseth, the more I'm suspicious of their motives. You should always be suspicious of their motives. They're full of crap. They're not really human. John Reb says, Joe, you have no idea what you're in for as a Karen Reed virgin. No spoilers, but your mind will be blown. The fan's name is Celine Dion. Cute. Vice chat named it Lorex. Rest in peace, Lorex. He was a great one. I want to talk about bad witnesses. The prosecutor ADA in the first trial put on 10 witnesses, everyone from the bar's party to talk about everything they did that day and the snow, a full week. Why does she allow that? Why? It's the stupidest thing in the world. Why? Why is that relevant? I have a lot of questions about this judge. If she allows that sort of crap to go on this time, I have a lot of questions. Even when they had this woman on today, I was like, I don't know what we're getting at. She's explaining the nature of her relationship with John O'Keefe going back years and years. And I'm like, how is this relevant? How is any of this relevant? This is stupid. All right. Let's go on to our next story. Our next story dealing with dopey Democrats. Dopey Democrats. Someone's trying to message me. Dopey Democrats. Let's start here. Maxine Dexter and several other Democrats who went down to El Salvador. El Salvador. By the way, if you missed the very early opening of my show, I played a clip which basically says it's scientifically proven that if you make fun of someone, it actually have a stronger, healthier relationship with them if you have polite teasing. So, all you bastards watching, it's okay. In your face. Okay? Danny knows chat is a cultier cult than yours. Let's get into the MS-13 member who's the favorite future American in the eyes of the Democrat Party. They're so stupid. This is the stupidest hill for them to try dying on. But they did. Like this, just look at her. Look at everything about. Look at her. Ladies, let me tell you something. Ian carries it off really well, okay? Never ever go with the Runkle the Bailey look if you're a woman. Just don't try it. Don't try it. There's a lot of better ways you can go. Just say. All right, but here we go. Sorry, Runkle. I'm poking. I'm poking tonight. I'm poking. Nice. Nice, Jim.
Congresswoman Maxine Dexter here, coming to you from El Salvador.
Oh, you're already in El Salvador. That's exciting.
I flew here last night with 3 of my colleagues.
She flew here last night with 3 of her colleagues
to demand that Kilmar Abrego Garcia be released.
Okay. Okay. That sounds like a Logan Act violation right there.
He is being held in violation of a Supreme Court order expressly telling the Trump administration.
The Supreme Court has no authority over the country of El Salvador. See, this is your first mistake, doofus.
To effectuate and facilitate his coming home.
Wrong! Not what the decision says. Nope. 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 Nope.
That is being ignored. This is not just a threat to all people in the United States.
Not a threat to any people in the United States unless he comes back. If he comes back and is released, that would be a threat to all people in the United States. Him being held in El Salvador is exactly a threat to 0 people in the United States. Who what are you talking about? What does that even mean? So out of your mind.
Who could be illegally abducted, detained, and transported internationally against
Where do you come up with that?
their will.
If they're a member of Tren de Aragua? Yeah.
But it is a fact that our president does not recognize the branches of government and the balances of power.
Oh, this is definitely not a fact. That's very clearly an opinion. I need to explain to you, honey, the difference between opinions and fact. Facts are things that are verifiably proven. Opinions are subjective. You have that subjective opinion. There's a lot of evidence to the contrary. Quite a great deal. In fact, during the second administration, more than ever, because he seems to be bending over backwards to try and help the court retain some sense of legitimacy. So he definitely does care about balance of power.
This is what we all have been calling a constitutional crisis.
Yeah, it started exclusively by the judiciary, and like jackasses, you failed to call out the judiciary for that.
Yet it is more severe than anything we've seen. We cannot stay silent. We must stay loud. I am here because I refuse to wait for something to happen. We are here to release Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
Okay, so this is how hard she's fighting. Did she fight for anyone in her own state who was attacked by illegal aliens? No. People who voted for her? No. People she's supposed to be representing? No. Kilmar Abrego Garcia? Sure. Okay. And then this was yesterday. El Salvador said, it was reported yesterday, rejects the House Democrats' request to meet with Kilmar Garcia. Oh no. What does Maxine Dexter say? What does she say? Oh, we ain't leaving. We're not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm staying here until he returns to the United States. We're not ever leaving. Not ever leaving. Oh my God. Which that's another reason for him to stay. Not going to kid you. Never leaving. Never leaving. All right. How long does never last in the life of a Democrat making a vow? Oh, we just returned. We just got back. Never leaving. Just got back. You're so stupid. We're never leaving until our flight goes. Until our book flight heads on back, and then we'll be sitting first class there. There's this doofus Garcia.
Yeah, I think it's really important that people are there and continue the pressure on what is clearly an illegal deportation of Kilmar Garcia and so many others. To be really clear, the United States Supreme Court has voted a 9-0 unanimous decision that Kilmar needs to be facilitated and have a return back to the United States.
What does that mean? He needs to be facilitated. That's not what it says, doofus. Maybe one eye is looking at this part of the decision, and another eye is looking at that. So the Trump administration is supposed to facilitate his return. Okay, so yeah.
The lower courts have affirmed this. The Trump administration themselves.
Lower courts don't affirm the Supreme Court, idiot. There's no such thing as the lower courts have affirmed. Oh, phew! Thank God the lower courts affirmed the Supreme Court. Oh my God, these are our political leaders. The lower courts have affirmed this. I saw this video clip and I didn't listen to it. This is my first time listening to it. Oh my God, the lower courts have affirmed the Supreme Court. Well, I'm sure that Chief Justice Roberts is so relieved. Oh my God.
Have admitted that they sent Kilmar Garcia there on accident.
Nope. That was actually one lawyer who was since fired for his incompetence in making that statement, but they'll keep repeating it.
So there is no reason why he should not be back home. And
lots of reasons he shouldn't be back home. Lots of reasons, like he's an illegal alien. That's the first reason. That's the first reason. There was also an order for his deportation. That's the second reason. Now there was a stay on that, but yeah, there's plenty of reasons. There's plenty of reasons. Now, the court said that he didn't get proper due process. Okay. All right. That should be remedied.
The real issue is really beyond an immigration story here or an immigration crisis. This is about
an immigration crisis. This is a crisis you need to be concerned about. This is a crisis. This is a crisis. 20 million people crossing over the southern border in 4 years of Biden. That's not a crisis. This is the immigration crisis. Sending them home is the crisis.
The rule of law. It's about due process. It's about everyone in this country who, under the Constitution, is afforded due process, whether they're a U.S. citizen, a temporary resident, on a student visa. That is a bedrock of the United States.
Or why don't you say it, illegal alien, which happens to be legally true. Even if they're an illegal alien, they're entitled to due process. But he didn't mention that because he knows that's terribly unpopular thing to say, and it happens to be exactly what he's doing.
Of America. Now, we had meetings yesterday, classified briefings with the U.S. ambassador, folks on the ground, Kilmar's family.
What the hell did that accomplish?
Very, very productive.
How? I can promise you, I haven't heard this yet. I can promise you, he does not explain at all how they were productive.
Putting a lot of pressure on the Salvadorian government and press.
They told you go home, and then you went home.
To ensure that he is brought back home, but also lifting up the case of so many others that have also received no due process. And I will say that we feel good about our efforts to continue this pressure. And now the president needs to do the right thing.
If he was made out of metal, he would be a Cylon. This dude. I can't look at his face any longer. Something is happening with those eyes. I don't know. Something's very wrong here. Something's very wrong. I got more from him, though. Brian Krasenstein was all excited, saying, oh, look, Democrat Representative Maxine Dex says she will not leave El Salvador until Kilmar Garcia returns to the United States. He sent this out today, this morning at 6:34 a.m. Dexter returns from El Salvador after blocked attempt to visit wrongfully deported man to put man's proof of life and accountability. Oh, that's all she wanted. I thought she wasn't coming back until until she was bringing him on a plane. Congresswoman Maxine Dexter from Maryland returned from El Salvador, where she demanded answers and accountability. Oh, I thought you were staying here. I'm staying forever. This is an illegal who was charged with murder after a woman's body was found in the woods in Maryland. That's right, Maxine Dexter's state, Chris Van Hollen's state. They don't care about this.
Now, this is the father of her children, Casey Barrera Rosa. He's charged with murder, and he's currently in ISIS custody. And we also have this mugshot of his uncle. Authorities charge Rolvin Barrera with being an accessory to the crime. A spokesperson for the Charles County Sheriff's Office says the suspect was methodical in hiding this woman's body, burying her deep, and using old dirt to conceal the hole.
Upon discovering her body, which was wrapped in a blanket and again buried about 5 feet below the ground, it was a moment of relief for the detectives that they were able to tell her family, we have found her.
So when we first reported this, authorities told us that they found fraudulent immigration documents for Barrera Rosa and confirmed he was in the U.S. illegally. Now, this is the father of her children, Casey Barrera Rosa. He's charged with murder, and he's currently in ISIS custody. And we also have this mugshot of his uncle. Authorities charge Rolvin Barrera.
Yeah. All right. I thought I was having deja vu. Here's more from Garcia. Such a clown. According to Paul Zapula, there's a pretty big account on X. He's got $307,000. So he says that Representative Robert Garcia illegally entered the U.S. years ago. The fact that he's a member of Congress now is preposterous. Of course, he's now trying to get more illegals, violent ones, into the U.S. by lying about what SCOTUS said. I don't think he even understands what the hell SCOTUS said. But let's hear this clip of him.
Hey, it's Congressman Garcia. I am here in El Salvador. I'm with a group of House Democrats advocating for the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia and, of course, checking in on so many folks who have been sent here with.
Yeah, all right. So we know how this went, which was nowhere. Getting nothing accomplished. And how do Americans feel about that? Well, let's get CNN shill and doofy side, Harry Enton. This has become my new piece, my new favorite piece. If you're new to this show, I need to give this segment like a name, the Harry Enton side piece. Sometimes it's a woman. Don't take it as sexist. Sometimes it's a dude. The side piece. Their role is they stand on the left side while Harry stands on the right side of his big giant screen. And then they will ask a question, which is supposed to set up the next cue card. That's the only thing that's what they're paid to do. So your job is you stand there, and then I'll tell you what my poll says, and then you're going to ask a scripted question. Try and fake it as if this just dawned on you, this question, and then I'm going to come up with the next card, which will answer your scripted question. Let's roll the tape. I haven't seen this one, but it always goes this way.
You know, we were talking about changes in policy and how Americans want policy to be carried out. Deport all undocumented immigrants. Voters favoring the government trying to deport all 11 million of them. Back in 2016, just 38% of voters wanted the government to try to deport all 11 million undocumented immigrants. Compared to where we are in 2025, 56%, the majority. The American people have come a long way on this issue, much closer to Donald Trump. And I think that's a big part of the reason why Americans are increasingly saying the country is on the right track when it comes to immigration policy, and why Donald Trump's net approval rating on that issue is in the positive. You know,
deep in the positive. Deep in the positive. Deep in the positive. And that's why I'm saying they're dopey Democrats. They're arguing on something that Americans, their own constituents, the ones who voted for them, don't agree with. They are arguing against what America wants and making big spectacles themselves. I'm flying down to El Salvador. Oh, here we go. We're going on a plane. Let's go to El Salvador. Yeah, El Salvador, here we come. And then they like, we're not leaving. Oh, wait, what time's our flight? Oh, crap. Okay. All right. We're going to go back and say how we accomplished so much productive talks. So many productive talks. So good that we came here. Oh, my God. So productive. In accomplishing nothing, pretending we accomplished something in an area that America doesn't want you to accomplish anything. That is dumb. in every sense of the term. Stupid. Since I'm a good person, I get to add to the order. I don't get that one. To add. To ADD to the order. Went over my head. Female Yoda. That's not fair to Yoda. I'll fly back to New York so we can have margaritas. You should. You should. The first man to be left supported since Harvey Weinstein. Garcia's face got stuck coming out of his mouth. It does kind of. I see it. I see it. Representative Garcia only represents himself. Disgraced former mayor of Long Beach, California. He doesn't listen to we the constituents. He's awful. Oh, he's yours? Is he yours? Representative Garcia's eyebrows are too close to his eyes. That's what's off. Okay, I didn't notice that. Now I'm curious. Okay. All right. I'm seeing this now. Is it too close to his eyes? Even here, he looks weird. Look at this looks weird. I don't want to hear from him. Let's just
out due process.
I'm just looking at his eyebrows now. I think those things are sculpted. I think he gets them done. It looks weird. Something looks weird. Let's go back to the other clip of him. We don't need that. I don't want to hear him. Now I'm all fixated on his eyebrows, thanks to Kimmy. There they look close. I think that's just the angle. I don't know. Something's wrong. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that is weird. Okay, I think I see what you're saying. Like, it's not on his skull, it's on his eyelid. Oh, that is weird. Like, his eyebrows are on his eyelid. That's weird. I need to see him again. Damn it. Yeah. You could see this part here. Something was done here. Something was done. He did something. Something's wrong. Something ain't right. Something ain't right. The passengers of the SS St. Louis are looking down from heaven at Democrats saying, we couldn't get into the U.S., but you want those hilarious. Yeah. Yeah. And there's Democrats responsible then, too. All right. And finally tonight. This is a weird story. I always close out the show and I tell you two things. This is a custom I've developed here because these are important things that cannot be stressed enough. Number one is lamb meat is not for you. It's for they, them. Don't eat lamb meat. It's not for you. It's for they, them. And the other thing I tell you is don't eat the bugs. Do not eat the bugs. I'm not closing out now. I'm using that. I'm not. I only say it once a show, so I'm going to have to find something else to close out with. But yeah, don't eat the bugs. The origin of don't eat the bugs is that the World Economic Forum wants you to eat bugs. They really do. They really want you to eat bugs. They're kind of insane. So the World Economic Forum is this consortium of different powerful figures, leaders of countries, wealthy business magnates, who basically are elitists who think they know far better what society needs than what anyone in society actually thinks, and how they're going to help sustain and better and enrich society. Let me find a whatchamacallit. Then they're the powers that be behind BlackRock, and there's other massive companies who are trying to buy up all property and take over the world. It's like cartoonishly evil if you actually think about it for 2 seconds. Always with the looking for the greater good, which is never humanity's greater good. I'm going to try and find an ad here that. All right, this is I think the ad that everyone has seen from the World Economic Forum predictions for 2030, which is now just 5 years away. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Hey, I'm so happy owning nothing. I'm so happy. Whatever you want, you'll rent and it'll be delivered by drone. What? You're going to rent? Everything's going to be rented? So there's going to be some landlords are going to own everything and you're going to own nothing and you're going to be happy. Surf. Oh, yeah, the U.S. won't be that's another great thing here that the WEF, the World Economic Forum, commonly referred to as the WEF, W-E-F. Oh, that sounds great. Handful of countries will dominate. Oh, that's much better. That's a much better world. So we'll tag each of you with your own body parts. No red meat for you. An occasional treat, not a staple. Look at the environment and our health. Yeah, it's much healthier to not eat meat. Everyone knows this. You don't need protein. Surf. Hey, look at this is something that makes people happy. Bring in all the refugees. This is what like I said, it's cartoonishly evil, and they're like thinking this is like a good thing. This is something that humanity will applaud. Global pricing power. This is look how insane this is. Oh yeah, you don't need sunlight. You can live in space. Yeah, okay. All right. So that's the insanity of the World Economic Forum, whose founder is a guy who looks cartoonishly evil. He really does. He looks cartoonishly evil. His name is Klaus Scwab. That's him. Right there. And in case you're wondering, yes, he speaks with a heavy German accent. in case it's almost like, society makes frogs pink, so you know not to like go near them. So he speaks with a German accent. It's insanity. It's crazy. Not that all Germans are evil, no, but they gave him this face and have him speak with his. I mean, literally, it's like, oh my gosh, I thought his face melted off in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Nope, still here. He's still here. He's in charge. He thinks he's in charge of the world. But they're launching an investigation into its founder for financial misconduct days after he resigned as chairman. What? That's right. Everyone's saying Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum, is now under investigation by the very institution he helped build. A whistleblower from inside the forum has come forward with explosive allegations of financial and ethical misconduct involving Schwab and his wife. Among the claims that Schwab reportedly instructed junior staffers to withdraw thousands of cash or ATMs for him and used WEF funds to cover private in-room messages during hotel stays. Klaus Schwab intends to file a lawsuit against the whistleblower, of course, because he's just cartoonishly evil. Let's hear from this guy, just so you can know just how insanely evil everyone around this just even looks. and sounds.
We also have to face an erosion of trust.
Erosion of trust. Oh, yeah, for some reason or another, there's an erosion of trust
in our society. We all must work together to regain trust in order to progress nationally and internationally. This can only be achieved if we genuinely address the existential fears of so many, the fears of marginalized, the fears of those who are afraid of accelerating environmental degradation, and the fears of those who worry about being left out in the transition to the intelligent age. We also have to face.
There you go. There you go. He's all about fixing the trust while ripping off the very entity that he purportedly, allegedly ripping off the very entity that he founded. It is. That is true. It is. Well, could be. Well, this is not good. Stop seeing inside. Oh my gosh. Reuters, what are you doing to me? World Economic Forum launches probe into founder Klaus Schwab over whistleblower allegations. This was just updated a couple hours ago. The World Economic Forum announced on Tuesday that it has launched an investigation into its founder Klaus Schwab following whistleblower letter alleging misconduct by the former chairman. The announcement came a day after the 87-year-old Schwab said he was resigning as chairman effective immediately without stating a reason, which is kind of sus. The Wall Street Journal, which first reported the probe, said an anonymous letter sent last week to the WEF's board raised concerns about its governance and workplace culture, including allegations the Schwab family mixed their personal affairs with the forum's resources without proper oversight. The WEF, quote, takes these allegations seriously. It emphasizes that they remain unproven and will await the outcome of the investigation to comment further. The forum said in an emailed statement to Reuters it did not provide details on the allegations, so we're all left in the dark on that. Spokesman for the Schwab family denied all the allegations in the whistleblower complaint. Wall Street Journal reported. Spokesperson also told the Journal that Klaus Schwab intends to file a lawsuit against whoever is behind the anonymous letter and anybody who spreads these mistruths. So there you go. The WEF's Davos gathering in recent years has drawn criticism from both the left and the right as an elitist talking shop, detached from the lives of ordinary people. It has also faced negative reports about its internal culture. The Journal previously reported that the WEF's board was working with a law firm to investigate the forum's workplace culture. If you tell me it's about workplace culture, chances are at least 50-50 that that's about that's claims of misogyny, probably, or some sort of harassment in that regard. It's unlikely that they weren't sufficiently DEI covering, meaning that they didn't have enough minorities. The whole thing is just minorities. The Journal previously reported that WEF's board was working with a law firm to investigate forum's workplace culture after the newspaper reported allegations of harassment and discrimination at the forum. The WEF denied those allegations. Everything there is just kosher. Everything there is kosher. So, yeah, I'll tell you right now, that guy cannot get his comeuppance fast enough. Cannot get his... Nice. Klaus has a bug of his butt. Uzelian says, Joe, can we still eat the worm or scorpion in the bottom of the bottle? I wouldn't recommend it. I don't recommend it. I assume you're talking about a tequila bottle. Cool Frog says, pick a day and a time you want to do that. I'm excited to your soon-to-be visits. It's very hard these days. When I'm on trial, this is very rough. Saturday night, 10:30. There you go. Remind me, though. Saturday night, 10:30. Zillion asked Joe, why are they dying on this hill when the only problem was he didn't get interviewed to see that things had changed there, and if he gets back, he'll get get back, be sent back. They're dying on this hill because they're trying to just undercut and imply that everything Trump does is illegal, and they feel like there was a screw up in deporting him without giving him that trial. So they feel as if this is an opportunity for them to try and make Trump look bad. If you start with that premise that they don't, think about this for a second. There is no actual philosophy left for the left anymore. We know this because they will quickly discard whatever was their long-held beliefs in favor of the new belief du jour. For decades, it was all about women's rights, women's rights, women's rights. Toss women's rights aside in favor of trans. And to hell with sports and whatever. There's no genuine ideology. It's just this chaotic morass of ever-changing morality, which is really just whatever is politically expedient. And it's really, and the political expedience, how is it politically expedient? You could ask yourself, how is it politically expedient to be supporting a group that is such a relatively small percentage of our country? You should ask this. These are questions you should be asking me. Joe, why would that be something that they would be embracing unless they genuinely cared about trans folks? Why would they be doing that? The numbers aren't there. Same way they supported gay rights. Numbers weren't there. Because you look at how many people are gay, how many people are trans, relatively small percentage of our American culture. So you may erroneously conclude that their motivations are genuine and pure, of an actual concern. This is a grave error on your part. The reason it's a grave error on your part, and the reason this is not true at all, I'll say it 3 times, not true at all. I understand double negatives. The reason this is not true at all is because of 2 overriding factors. Number one, they're continually trying to deconstruct the family because this ultimately leads to greater power for folks like Klaus Schwab or folks who are hungering for power. Because the more the family is in opposition to the state. It's continually buttressing the state. The more the individual feels obliged to his own family, the less they can serve the state. This goes all the way back to Marxist type of problems with the family. Similarly, the state is in constant turmoil against religion. So religion and family are the 2 mainstays, the 2 allures that can pull the individual away from the state. So the state is continually trying to deconstruct them as much and as thoroughly as possible. Now, they don't think of it from that perspective, meaning your typical college student has no idea that that's the underpinning as to what they end up supporting. No. Instead, the way they market themselves to the useful idiots, the morons who chain themselves to Columbia University and think they're so enlightened and so intelligent, the doofuses who will sit in the middle of the street over BLM or throw paint on artwork or spray paint a Tesla dealership. The very company that 5 years ago they were heralding as the future of sustaining the planet. What they market is, we're going to make you feel special. If you join us, we will make you feel special. You will feel superior. You will feel enlightened. You have spent your entire life, because of what we've done, feeling miserable about yourself. You spent your entire life feeling as if you are a loser, alone, disrespected. But if you support our ideology, then you're going to be able to go out there and tell everyone else that you're better than them, because you genuinely care. That's what they're marketing. They're marketing to those with the deep insecurities and inferiority complexes. The notion that you can feel as if you're uniquely special, powerful, and good, and that everyone else next to you is scum. because they're not as caring and considerate as you are. They're not as woke as you are. They're not as self-sacrificing as you are, even though you're not going to really be sacrificing anything. But you'll be able to tell the world that you're willing to sacrifice and that you're an ally for the underprivileged. So even though you're not genuinely helping any of the very people you think you're helping, when you help trans people push forward and find their transiness, ultimately that leads to that individual's own misery. And at least 4 out of 10 cases, if not 98 out of 100 cases, 4 out of 10, it's bad enough that they're suicidal. But you're not actually helping them, but you can tell the world that you're a better person than them. So what they're actually marketing to all these useful idiots is the notion that you can feel like you're a superior person. And they're marketing to a culture that is starved for that, because they themselves are victims of this this Ponzi scheme of a culture where we're basically going to make your life worse. We're going to encourage poverty through policies. We're going to encourage divorce through having sexual revolution and through promiscuity, through devaluing the male role models, deconstructing the family. And then you're going to feel alone and lost and powerless and kind of like a loser. So we'll help ameliorate that pain for you. And the drug we're going to give you is leftist ideology, that you are superior to those people who are not part of leftist ideology. You are part of a superior culture because you're enlightened and you care. You're an ally. You're a good person. You stand up for the minority. You stand up for the trans. You stand up back then for the gay rights, or earlier than that for blacks or women's rights. But you're standing up for the quote unquote minority. This is now making you a more enlightened and superior individual. And today's society is all the more starved for it because the depression rates are through the roof. I mean, they took our psychological industry, made that a complete cluster fart, so that even if you seek help, you're very unlikely to attain any mental health, because the prescriptions they're giving to try and make you better are A, either going to drug you out of your mind so you can't really think things through, or B, enable you and tell you, yeah, all these problems, they're not your fault. It's society around you that sucks, which just is a self-defeating, never improve yourself actually, but just blame your problems on everyone else and find a circle of people who will further enable you. This is not mental health. This is not finding mental health. It's finding safe spaces. It's finding circles that will help further your dementia or your dysphoria or your dysmorphia or any other dis that you're suffering from. Or whether that dis might just be that you're continually dissed. Or more often than not, that's all it is. So we're not going to teach you how to rise above that. We're going to teach you to self-coddle and find people who are going to accept you for who you are. This is why every person, whatever affliction they have, all of a sudden now they're born this way. And it doesn't matter what the affliction is, but they're born this way. Any scientific evidence that? No. But obviously, I mean, the scientific evidence is that we have DSM-5 comes out now and tells you you're born this way. For thousands of years, no one ever thought such a thing as possible. No, now we know better. We're way more enlightened. And you're special and more empowered. You're more important and a better human being if you recognize that. You're sciencey. You're trusting the science. So it is very cult-like. It is. So that's why, and it could be illegal aliens too. It's like another trans thing. Anything they can do to try and hurt, and if they're bashing on Trump, that's another way of making you feel like you're special, like you see the evil of Trump. That's what's happening there. So, and that's why they wanted to die on this hill, Uzelian, because there's no difference from the minds of the left. There's no difference between this Abrego Garcia guy and some trans guy. It's just another victim of people who are from people who are not as enlightened as those on the left. When rather, and the irony is, instead of being enlightened, they're the worst victims of leftism. Their own self flagellation, their own self immolation. I'm gonna keep my shows a little bit shorter while I'm on trial. I plan on streaming every night while I'm on trial. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. we go back to Karen Reed, and this trial is awesome. And watching it with me will make you feel special and important. Very much like a healthy type of woke. CNBC claimed cutting grants to Harvard affect every American. I laughed and asked the restaurant to change the channel. That is funny. It is very cult-like Trumpinator. And you know what? We started with Trumpinator and his awesome gift to the crowd, and we'll close with you, my brother. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Karen Reed, don't be late. This is a fun trial. The worst thing about trials in general is that you never know if the testimony is going to get slow and boring. This seems like everyone out there is just another mystery as to like how many different ways are they full of crap, and will that be exposed? Now, I may end up saying the same thing about defense witnesses. Like I said, at a certain point today, I was like, I think they all did it. I think like the cops did it, and I think Karen Reed did it with them. I think they're all guilty. None of their actions make any sense. None of it makes sense. But the burden of proof is on the state. Unless they can prove that she did it, she should walk. That's the way our rules work. As long as we can stick to that policy, we have a healthier society. I thank you all for joining me. I will see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. sharp. Don't be late. 9 a.m. Eastern sharp. That's when trial starts. Do not be late. Till then, my friends, have a good night. And as always, Godspeed.